Now we're going to roll into some technology. So myself, Sam Williams, Integrated Solutions Manager, I'll be presenting on the ExactApply portion of this. Joe Tatman's going to get us started off talking about data management, operations center, and Jeremy Armstrong is going to finish us out with a little bit more on the RowSense and the Vision auto track, as well as our newest Starfire receiver, the SF6000. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. How are we? Well, starting off here today, like it says, application technology into the future, I just want to ask a couple questions about you. Who's doing anything with their data right now, just by a show of hands? I mean, some guys are actively trying to engage with it. You're using a platform to use it, to analyze with it. Okay, you guys too? All right. Do you think it's valuable? Is it even more valuable than it ever was today? I think it is. And that's what we're here to talk about, just to show you a little bit about the platform that Deere has came up with. As you can see, these little field outlines up here, those are field boundaries. You pull your data in there, get them set up every time you come into your operations center. As long as you got your data lit up like that, that's how it would come in and look. You can also see the little tractor icon there. How many of you guys here have JD Link enabled machines? Right. Like I said, a JD Link enabled machine, if you brought that into your organization, you get the same capabilities. You can see where it's at, heading, the codes, utilize wireless data transfer, and be able to do those different sorts of things there. It's still the same setup, just like it is on your 2630, your 2600s, previous with the Apex data, client, farm, and field. That setup has not changed at all, but you can search everything right through there. Talking about the application side of things, this is what I feel like is the meat and potatoes of the Operations Center, is the ability to compare and contrast maps for in-depth analysis through the field analyzer tool on here. Just for the sake of an application training, you can see I pulled these application maps in, and you can see here we got your as-applied rate and application speed. And you can do this on a variety of different things. But my point is here is that you can start making comparisons that you could see he got a little bit squirrely with his speeds out there on the edges, but it didn't affect his as-applied rate. You know, so that's the kind of where it starts to spark interest, that you can layer different maps and compare them like that to start seeing that if it had an impact on your job after the fact. And then two, it puts all those different totals and your averages, where you work, total applied, average speed, and be able to see all that in a flash. You know, before in Apex, sorting through that tree to get to where your data at, it seemed like it took 5 minutes just to get to one field. If you go back and just click right on that field, click the field analyzer, it brings all the data up that you ever had. And just say, for example, if you guys that are using Apex, if you had 10 years of data, we can push all that up and make that valuable and be able to see it a lot easier than what it was before. Also, while we're talking about that, this is just something to think of too, not necessarily with application, but like with harvest maps. If you had, say, for example, 6 to 7 years of data on one field, we can make composite maps off of that and lay that on top of each other, and you can compare, you can contrast, you can start doing that just by a couple click of buttons up here. Overview, compare, and difference. It'll break them maps out with just a couple clicks. That's all it is. Biggest thing here is you can document your products as they were applied. Yes, you could do that with Apex before and other software, but it seemed like that was also cumbersome too. For most of you folks who don't know me, I grew up in the state of Delaware on the Delmarva Peninsula, and everyone hears about the Chesapeake Bay and documenting and pollution and all that stuff. Lord willing, it never gets that bad out here, but it's nice to be able to have everything that you documented and applied in the field right there at the touch of your fingers if it ever does get that bad. Hopefully it doesn't. But that's just something I wanted to bring in on this side of things, that could be a concern later down the road, and this platform allows you to get to it a lot easier. And then two, also on Operations Center, you can bring in agronomic reports. Apex had the nice reports too. Your agronomic reports, you can print that out, and then it breaks it out just like how it was. Your field name, your client name, your farm, the products you applied, the averages, the total applied. Nice, could be using that as a inventory to a recording kind of thing, you know, making sure that what you bought, you didn't have anything left over. You know, it's infinite possibilities what you can do with this data when it gets in your hands a lot easier. But you can print these out, and you can do this for everything. You can do products by field. You can do field fields by products. So if you just wanted to see what farms you put Enlist on, or if you wanted to see the farms that you put dicamba on, you can break that out, print them out, and kind of start doing reports and comparisons like that. And then two, this is one of the biggest things that we try and, or at least I try and push and have a conversation with, is that how many folks in this room are using agronomists all the time, or some sort of trusted partner that you're giving that data to, that you're documenting on your machines all the time. I assume everybody in this room. And that's the biggest thing about Operations Center, is that you can make organizational partners for the people that help you all the time, can get there and help you with it. So if it is that agronomist, he can get in here, pull that data off, and do whatever he needs to do with it. Prime example, we did a presentation for Helena last August, and we did a little bit of talking about this, and a young lady in that room that sold products, she pushed to any of her customers that had the capability to just wirelessly data transfer, for example. She tried to get them to do it, make them partners with Operations Center, because like she said, that moment he leaves that field, that data is getting pushed up to the Operations Center. She's making her recommendations the next day, and who knows, if it's putting lime on, fertilize, whatever the case may be, it could be out there in 3 or 4 days, and not wait until December or end of the season pulling your data off your displays and then giving it to your agronomist. So that's one prime example that I like to hear, because that is the main goal of what collaborating with partners on the Operations Center can attain to you. It can get that data that you guys are accumulating and get it to the people that you want to have it faster. But how many times has you guys, just say with a sprayer, just say with any kind of tool, that you forgot to change the field in the farm when you left it? I assume everybody in this room as well. If you start using Operations Center and making those boundaries, when that data comes up, just say you all accidentally did that, it can field detect that and recognize that that data that you're telling it is supposed to go to this place is in the wrong place and can correct itself. So that's a nice little blip I like to put in there too, that it keeps data from being clean, because that's the biggest goal with your data and data management, is that the moment your data becomes dirty, it doesn't become valuable to you, does it anymore? If it interruption on a spraying or interruption on a harvest, the moment it gets flawed, your averages are off, all those totals that you're looking for are off, and then your data becomes useless because it's not true. If you keep it true, it's value to you. How many folks in here do their own prescriptions? Full with prescriptions, even if it is the agronomist. They put this tool in here now that you can build RX or prescriptions in Operations Center a lot easier than what you could do in Apex. So say, for example, you were say this is the home farm, like on that home screen I showed you. You clicked on it, you wanted to make a prescription off of it, it's another click and it snaps you right to it. You can bring it in on 3 different things. You can do soil survey maps, you can do it off of previous yield history, or if you want to, you can freeform and draw zones on there. And it literally, when I started playing with it, it took me 10 minutes to kind of figure out how it was, and then it's not that difficult of a tool to use. And then to the extent of that, it shoots it right back into the Operations Center, and you can either send it wirelessly, do whatever it has, it's right there, grab it and go. If you can start seeing what the trend is here, it's all about getting what you need faster and getting that data to you faster. How many of you guys like apps on your phone? Does anybody use any John Deere apps on their phone as of now? You know, like Go Plant, Go Harvest, anything like that? Probably not. That's okay. There's a big app store that John Deere has, and this is something new that they put out for Operations Center, is the My Analyzer app. And what that pretty much does is that when you get your Operations Center set up and you start pushing data to it all the time, all you have to do is log in with your My John Deere account, and all those as-applied maps that you had for whatever task you were doing, you can pull them up and look them on your phone that fast. So if you're sitting at the coffee shop or stop in at the co-op and the guy asks you, hey, well, what'd that farm make? There it is right there. You can show him. You know, it's the accessibility that an app like that can provide to you. Okay, another question. How many ways do you think that John Deere allows for you to move your data from your displays, from your machines, to a management platform like this? 1, 2, 3, 4, what do you guys think? Just holler out a number. Oh, come on, you can work with me just a little bit. I know it's not exciting to talk about this. All right, Robbie, you're close. 2, there's actually 3. You can do it the old-fashioned way, and that's horrible to say that that's old-fashioned, just using the USB stick, pulling the data off of there, and taking it to whomever you need to do it. The top and the most elite way, I guess you could say, is that if you have machines that are JD Link enabled, have the technology in it to do it, you can do the wireless data transfer. As I was touching on before, you get a platform like this set up, get your data up in there. The moment you move from a field, it's sending data up right to the operations center. It's that fast. See it the moment you move a field. And then 2, even if, say, for example, you sprayed half the farm or got the plant in half the farm, you got rained out and didn't come back to the farm for 2 more weeks, it will know. And it will correct itself because of what you did on the backside to make sure your data was clean. Now, the second way, an in-between way, is the mobile data transfer. And what that is the goal for the customers that maybe do not have this up-to-date of machinery, but are using 2630s and are wanting that ease of moving data. This allows for you to do it. Literally, it looks like a USB stick on steroids. You stick it in the side of the display. It uses the network service off your phone with this little My Transfer app, picks it up, pulls your documentation data, your setup data off the display, pulls it to your phone, sends it up to your cloud that fast. And I mean, I've been in very poor cell service areas, and it has not took more than 5 or 10 minutes, if that, and that's a lot of data. If you started to get into the trend of doing it every night when you got done, it probably would take just not even a couple minutes to do it. And for the cost of that, it's another option to do that, to fall in between that. Sound pretty good? That sound not too bad, being able to do that? Maybe not, maybe yeah. Oh yeah, and also before I forgot about that, you can send, so say for example, you did make prescription files on Operations Center or whatever the case may be, setup files. You can pull them onto your app and push them into your display right from the cab without you having to use that stick as well. It's just that in-between part for customers that don't have WDT capabilities. But the biggest push that I like to see with this is that there's 3 points that Operations Center has its value. 1, you can see it anywhere. As long as you have internet connection on an iPad, on a laptop, on your phone, you can see the data that you documented anywhere. It's like I said, you guys could be down in Florida in February and checking things out, taking a look and seeing what that farm did if you thought about it. It's the days of the pocketbook and the notes, they got to be gone. For you guys to keep being successful and getting return on the investment of the machinery and the technology you put in, this is just making it more easy for you to see it. 2, the collaboration part, going back to like what I was saying, getting that data that you trust with people to help you make your decisions on the farm, getting it easier to them. And then 3, direct farm decisions remotely and help you make better management decisions moving further. Because, even though you guys, I imagine a lot of you guys have been farming the same farms for years and years, and you think you know it like the back of your hand, but you'd be surprised on sometimes these maps can start alluding to problems or concerns, or maybe have an idea, well, maybe I need to try and do something to fix that area. Or maybe that part of the farm just never has the yield engine and there's nothing I need to do with it. Maybe I need to back my seed off. Maybe I need to do something like that. It's those kind of decisions that Deere wanted to try and push in this platform that is simpler for you guys to make. Not make, 300, different kinds of nutrient recommendations, but helping you make little management decisions like that. Yes, another blip. Who is Pioneer customers in here? You guys have heard of Encirca? The Encirca program? Programs like that and third-party softwares, there are probably a dozen or more that completely interface with the Operations Center. And what I mean that is that when you put your data up there and they are an API and integrated with us, that data moves forward and backwards seamlessly. So Granular, Farmers Business Network, there's some Map Shots, Ag Studio, those are all third-party softwares that completely integrate with the Operations Center, and that data moves back and forth. So that's just something to think about too for you guys using other trusted partners, maybe that their software could go right back and forth. What else was there? Sorry about that. Is there any other questions? Am I crazy? I'm the nerdy guy that knows about the operations center. I mean, it's not, but seriously, anything you guys could need, questions wise, please don't be afraid to ask me. Oh, come on, not one question. All right. Well, again, I thank you guys for your time and coming out here and hearing me blabber all this time. And hopefully, if you need anything, we're here for you. And I'm going to turn it over to Sam.
Okay, clicker. Thanks. All right, Joe, thanks. I appreciate that. There's a lot of neat tools we got in the operations center, and one of the biggest things is that seamless integration between all these third-party softwares that you guys are seeing out there. Most seed companies have them, as Joe mentioned, and the ability just to tie that in to really speed up the decisions, get the people that you guys work with on a day-to-day basis that information that they're requiring a little bit faster, a little bit easier. I'm going to switch gears a little bit here and go back to some hardware. We're going to talk technology with it, but the neat thing is this is a new piece of hardware you guys will be able to put your hands on. A little disclaimer, will be available for model year 18 R4 series sprayers. They have mentioned retrofit later on. Don't know an exact date on that, but for right now, we're looking at model year 18 with John Deere ExactApply. So what we've got here, I think this picture shows you a little bit better, but you've got a 6-tip turret now within there. So you've got the ability to run nozzles in pairs. This is a pulse width modulation system, a little bit different than most in the industry, and the ability to run 2 tips simultaneously with that. Because you're running 2 tips, we need to run at a higher rate so we can pulse a little bit faster to get more product out there. I'm going to show you a simulator here in just a minute that I think will really show you a lot of these factors and the good things with it. But kind of going down the list here, what we've got is we've got 15 and 30 hertz pulse width modulation. So hertz, that is a factor per second. So at 15 hertz, running just one nozzle, that would be 15 times a second that is turning on and turning off. Similar to Capstan, Raven Hawkeye, those type of products. You've probably seen them at the farm show, running on their spray tables. They're blipping in and out really fast. So we've got that capability now. We can run at an industry-exclusive 30 hertz, so 30 times per second, that nozzle's turning on and turning off, cutting in and out flow within there. We've got automatic nozzle switching, so the ability to run 2 nozzles at the same time. So say our blue tip here, its ideal speed range is maybe 0 to 5 miles per hour. Our yellow tip might be from 5 to 10 miles an hour. So we cross into that higher speed zone, we turn off the blue tip, and we turn on the yellow tip automatically within there. We cross into an even higher speed rate yet, we can run them both at the same time on there. How we can run them both at the same time, kind of another exclusive, is we've got 2 plungers inside here. So we're kind of a horizontal design on the way we pulse it. So inside of each one of these capsules, you've got a plunger running at that 15 hertz per second rate. So it's a pretty neat system set up to run in pairs within there. Also, we've got kind of another key feature, be an LED light on there. So this works primarily for diagnostic purposes. It does provide some light when you're applying at night, however. So you can see a little bit better on those early mornings or late evenings as you're working in the field, as well as the diagnostic piece. So if you've got nozzle 37 that's plugged, it'll show you that individually on the screen on your 2630. It'll let you know that. But instead of you having to walk down that boom and count and figure out which one it is, it'll actually flash that LED. So you could just run your hand under that boom and look for the one that's flashing. So pretty neat. Some smart diagnostics in there. Like I say, individual nozzle read off, similar to a lot of the theories we got with electric drive planters. We're getting down that individual row control. In this instant, individual nozzle body control. Also with that, we have individual nozzle control for section control. So currently, most sprayers are rigged up on 10 or 20-foot sections. With this, we get down to each individual spacing. So whether you're on a 15-inch spacing or a 20-inch spacing, that is how precise we can now get with our section control. Jeremy's going to talk a little bit later on how we factor in those accuracies working with the Starfire 6000 receiver and why that might be an even more critical piece now when we get down into those individual section controls. Turn compensation, another thing we've seen with John Deere electric drive planters. You can slow down and speed up flow based on each one of those nozzles as you're making a turn. So as the outside of the boom is swinging around really fast, you're going to need to be putting on a higher rate. While you're inside of the boom moving rather slow, you're going to want to slow that down. As Sean was talking earlier, we've got some pretty powerful herbicides out there that need precise application. We don't want to over-apply or under-apply. We want to still have those products to use into the future. This technology allows us to do that and keep those products where we need them. We've got a key fob also, so we can run diagnostics from outside, from behind the boom, without having to have somebody up in the cab flipping on the pump and doing that. Save you a little bit of time as you're getting set up, kind of pre-season within there. I think that's about it. Jeremy, you want to open up the simulator here? So this is a simulator Deere's put together. They've actually got it paired with a spray table. We were unavailable to get that today, but we've still got some pretty cool videos that I think will highlight a lot of these features that I've been talking about. So field outlining, this will highlight that A-B nozzle switching. So you might have a low drift nozzle here, this red tip running across the field edge. Now he's getting lined up. He's going to make his first pass down the center of the field. It's going to automatically switch to that via a button in the cab. So you can turn on and off the automatic A-B nozzle switching based on where you're at. Another tool that we've got that's kind of unique to this exact apply system is it is not just strictly a pulse width modulation. You can turn that on or off. So you can run an air induction nozzle with this, to where some of the others in the industry, once you're set up with PWM, you're a PWM system, and they're always going to be pulsing. Changing speed. All right, here we go. This is probably what I think is the coolest. So you can see as we're gradually increasing speed, we're running the yellow nozzle here, we're going to switch here. And that's happening automatically within the cab. Finally, when you cross over into that higher range yet, you get both nozzles running simultaneously. Increasing speed, increasing that increment that those nozzles are going to be held open until they're fully running, basically all the way open all the time at that top 18 miles per hour speed. So very neat capabilities within there to be able to have that at the same time. If you're running different tips for different herbicides, or even different tips with different speed ranges, if you can save that time for that operator to get out and run down and turn every single one of these nozzle bodies, that's quite a bit of time, especially as you spend slower speeds outlining the field, then you get set up to run fast. You're going to have to run through there and rotate all those tips. Having that in-cab control can surely make it a lot easier, a lot simpler. It's going to get done if they can do it from a push of the button inside the cab. Turn compensation, similar to some of our planer technology, as I mentioned. We're going to slow down the inside boom rate and increase the outside boom rate as we make this right-hand turn. Again, a critical factor is we look at applying the precise amounts of herbicide on that crop. Individual nozzle control, this takes us down to that 15 to 20 inch spacing for our section control. The ability as we cross this waterway to turn off those nozzles individually. Very neat system preventing that overlap that's costly not only in the pocketbook as far as input cost, but as well as the crop yield factors that come into play with over applying or under applying. Finally, we've got our increased coverage example here. So we've got a competitive system pulsing at 10 hertz. And then we show the exact apply system pulsing a little bit faster, 3 times faster at 30 hertz per second. And then kind of that coverage map in between. So what areas are covered versus uncovered with the ability just to open and close a lot faster within there. So it's very nice, gives you a very consistent droplet size that you would see with a PWM valve, as well as some of those other features allowing some more in-cab control, the diagnostics, individual row shutoff, some very neat things. Anybody have any questions on ExactApply? Like I said, it is model year 18 factory installed at this point. We have been told there will be retrofits starting first with the R series back to their start, and then on back in time to the 30 series as well, and the 4940s. It is not compatible at this point with an R 4023. Yep. Oh, sorry, you guys are in the same one. Go ahead, right here.
On the system there, is there any way you'd like to run it manually if something's wrong so you can keep running?
Yes, yeah. So you can turn off the PWM valves on it and run it just as a regular spray rate system. All of the options that I mentioned can be turned off and set as just a regular rate through a certain nozzle. Yep.
And something else too on that, to piggyback off your question, if you have one nozzle body that goes down in the middle of the boom, you can actually take a nozzle body off the end and replace it. You might shorten your boom up, but you can still keep running if you have something go wrong in the middle of the day.
Yep. Now in the back. Correct. Yeah. At this point, it will only work on a Green Star 3 display. It will eventually be running our Generation 4 Command Center, which will be in the model year 2018 R Series sprayers as well, but it will only be John Deere display. You will still need a section control activation as well, which most sprayers are being ordered with currently to run that individual nozzle control. Anything else? Guys, I think it's a really neat product. John Deere definitely wasn't the first to the table with this PWM system we now have, but it is one that has a lot of industry exclusive with it. Raven has an enormous capability with their Hawkeye system, the ability to retrofit, especially when we start talking about the Hagie machines, putting on a very similar system within there as well. They can offer the individual row shutoffs. The only thing that's a little bit of a difference is you've just got that 10 hertz pulsing versus the 30 with the Deere. So, with that, I'm going to turn it on over to Jeremy. We're going to talk about some guidance.
Thanks, Sam. And this ExactApply is just fantastic. We've seen it a lot of times, but reality of it is we got to make it work, right? So what do we need to have to make it work? Everybody's greatest and best thing to do when you get up in a 2630 and a sprayer or a planter or anything is measure, right? If we don't have those offsets right, if we don't have any of that stuff that goes into our display, as we call it, dimensions, measurements, whatever, as the old adage goes, garbage in, garbage out, right? So to make sure those are right. One of the biggest things also we need to make sure of too is that we're running some of the latest stuff on these machines. If you're going to get down precisely to these shutoffs on individual nozzle bodies, guys, I wouldn't do anything more than recommend our new receiver. This Starfire 6000 receiver, latest and greatest and newest one on the market. Base model still comes with SF1, so around that 6-inch mark in terms of accuracy and coverage. But what's new is, with the SF6000, we can actually tighten down that SF2 signal that we were used to with an all-new SF3 signal. Gets us down to 1.2 inches of repeatable accuracy within 9 months. Now, if you're used to running RTK, we tell you it's around an inch, repeatable all the time, right? Well, I can tell you that John Deere's tested it within 9 months and 9 months only. Now, there's probably some gray area there, right? When that first line is snapped, in 9 months, it'll go away. But if you re-snap that same line, potentially 4 months down the road, very likely you get an additional 9 months out of that same line. So it's one of the little secrets that we learned the other day when presenting and practicing, that this has only been tested for 9 months, but that 9 months starts when you snap that line. We can always go back and recenter or repunch a line and maintain it. And also, if we're used to putting in our lines with lat and longitudes and headings, there's probably really no reason why we can't copy those same lines if we're running SF3 and still have that repeatable accuracy, maybe a little further. Now, if you want that true repeatability, obviously we want you to go to RTK and maintain that. We're not trying to discount RTK by any stretch of the imagination, because that's the true industry leader in terms of marketability and repeatability. Internal data logger. A lot of times we get a lot of calls, and Joe and Sam and technicians, I got this code on my receiver and I can't remember what it was because it goes away. The new 6000 has an internal data logger. It will remember those stored codes just like what a tractor will. And additionally, USB updates, USB port for faster updates. Guys, we remember those, and they take a little longer because we got to feed them through the John Deere 2630, right? Green Star 3 display. So now we got ability to speed these things up a little bit, reduce downtime, more uptime, so it gets you out in the field faster. Now, one of the biggest things about this particular receiver is its ability to run a faster processor. And of a faster processor, we've all done our TCM calibrations, right? First thing we got to do when we pull the sprayer out of the field or out of the barn, do a TCM. So that TCM gives us that pitch, that roll, that opportunity. And if we're going to run things like ExactApply down the road, and versus some of our older receiver products, we got a little video that shows you why the 6000 is the receiver that needs to be on your sprayer today. Sam, if you will.
The feature that we will be focusing on in this video is terrain compensation in the new receiver. Terrain compensation technology provides the capability to detect roll, pitch, and yaw of the machine. For the Precision Ag event out here in Bismarck, we built a bump track to test out the differences between the Starfire ITC and the Starfire 6000. So the machine on the left has a Starfire ITC and the machine on the right has a Starfire 6000. You'll notice as they go over the bump track how hard of a time the ITC has to come back to center on the guidance line against the Starfire 6000, which doesn't wander as much and acquires the line back right away after the bump. These are identical tractors, just different receivers. The receivers are both running on SF1. In this last clip, we've slowed the video down to show you the difference between the ITC and the 6000 and how much this ITC wanders, which it takes quite a ways before it actually comes back on the guidance line.
With as expensive as applications are these days and chemicals run, is there any importance on why we should be upgrading our machines to this 6000 receiver? I mean, it's here. It's definitely the machine of the future in terms of GPS reliability. So we've talked about that reliability. We've got that ExactApply product out there that Sam talked about. Coupled with those dimensions, it allows that product to really give you your fullest return on investment, your maximum return. Let's talk a little bit more now about the AutoTrack Vision and RowSense that they went over a little bit this morning. If you see the sprayer to my right, it's got the RowSense feelers on it. AutoTrack, this helps us a lot of ways. We were having some challenges to use AutoTrack and follow rows and post-emerge spraying applications, and because of the following, right? Well, for some of you who do custom, and I know there's a couple in this room that do, you didn't plant that field, you don't have that GPS line, you're going to have a hard time running through that field without knocking some of their crop down. Well, now we have ways out there to help with that and help against it. Even guys who plant without GPS, we still have people who are using markers. They exist, we know that. Opportunities out there now to use this product to keep from running anything down, and then to go no guidance lines. I think one of the biggest ones that we miss sometimes is planter drift. Planter drift will catch us more often than not because that tractor is really the one that's driving the straight line, and if you get a little wobbleness out of your planter and that thing drifts on you, you're running the same line in your sprayer that your tractor did, not your planter. So we got to keep cognizant of that as well. The vision and the feeler guidance complement that AutoTrack by enabling the system to actually follow the row planted, not the line driven by the tractor. There's a little bit of a video here too on this one that I want us all to see that really shows the true value in this as well.
It starts off pretty mild. A little distraction here, a little crop damage there, but then the hours add up. The fields get longer, the frustration and fatigue build up, the stress levels mount, and before you know it, you've got a bad case of row rage. That's what steering by hand for hours can do, even to the best of operators. How costly is row rage? Running over the row for even 1 second at 15 miles an hour will take out more than 90 corn plants. Imagine how that can add up over a day. Not anymore. John Deere introduces 2 hands-free guidance systems to help your 4 Series sprayer stay on track without taking out crops or wearing out you or your operators. For early season crops, choose the new AutoTrack Vision. Using a front-mounted camera to actually see and detect corn, soybeans, and cotton at least 6 inches high, AutoTrack Vision is available only from John Deere. For later season canopied corn, choose new AutoTrack RowSense. Using a paddle sensor mounted on the sprayer's front wheels, it actually feels and detects mature corn stalks. Both guidance systems help sprayer wheels stay in the center of each row and dramatically reduce yield-robbing crop damage, even if planter drift causes misalignment or the AB line from planting isn't available at spraying. With both systems, you can spray faster with less fatigue, especially valuable in tight application windows. Increasing sprayer speed from 14 to 18 miles an hour lets you cover more than 20% more acres every day. Both guidance solutions help sprayer operators of all experience levels do their jobs with higher productivity because they can better focus on other things.
Your eyes hurt from staring at the hood all day long, and my back between my shoulder blades from steering all day long would hurt. And RowSense will automatically adjust your AB line, so on turnarounds I could just grab the steering wheel and turn and click the button and start off, and it would adjust the line all the way down according to the rows. So it was a tremendous load off for stress and fatigue on my body.
Here's a closer look at how each system works, starting with the AutoTrack Vision. The advanced camera detects a difference between the crop row and the soil in between to correctly identify rows. This input helps AutoTrack offset any misalignments and reduce the risk of crop damage. When canopy closes over your rows of corn, it's time for AutoTrack RowSense. Currently approved on straight 30-inch corn rows, AutoTrack RowSense uses input adjustment signals to help take the guesswork out of late season application in taller corn with a thick canopy. Here's what you see in the cab. With AutoTrack Vision, you see a graphic overlay with detailed information in real time, showing crop rows marked in green, the center of each row, the white dashes, and the calibrated center of each row, shown here as a solid blue line. See how the last 2 indicators line up to deliver the best guidance? Any John Deere 4 Series sprayer model can be equipped with either of these 2 new guidance systems, or you can add both for the best overall performance across the growing season. Isn't it time to control your row rage? See your John Deere dealer for details on all new AutoTrack Vision and AutoTrack RowSense systems. Performance that pays.
All right, show of hands. Who has sprayed all day, come home tired, went straight to bed, and missed supper? Because you've been steering wheel all day, right? I know there's 2 or 3 of you that's called me that have talked about how tired you've been at the end of the day after running a sprayer. I get it. We get it. You know, that's why we've got these products out here. They're proven. They work. We've ran them. We've tested them in Florida. Forgive me, Sam, was it last year we did it? We drove them last year? We actually drove them last year over PVC pipe, so not even actual rows of corn. Cut off PVC pipe laid in 30-inch rows for the monocular camera, and also some upright, I think they were rebar or T-post or something, actually, so something that was pretty valuable if you run over it. And don't believe there was anybody that ran over any of them. They were actually standing and still good after, 3 months of people like us driving the machines down through there. So they actually work. They're here for us. So the vision guidance, like you see, and we have them mounted on here. I know Tony talked about it a little bit ago. The camera's mounted as well as the feelers. It's a monocular camera, early season row crops, and post-emerge applications, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about the specifics here in just a second. The row crop, the feeler guidance, it's a universal RowSense feeler, late season row crop applications. For all inclusive purposes and farmers in here today, our customer base, who's running RowSense on their combines? Okay, some of you, that's a good thing. If you've had a competitive corn head in the past with RowSense on it, these feelers are the same feelers in that universal RowSense kit. So their feelers are their kit that John Deere's used in the past, so they know there's some proven workmanship there with them as well. A little more about the vision. the camera, early post-emerge applications. The biggest thing here, it's improved in corn and soybeans only so far, but that's most of what we have to worry about here. 30-inch and 40-inch row spacing. They have not approved it at smaller row spacings yet, but I think we understand why. Minimum crop height, 4 inches. Maximum crop height, 90% canopy. Obviously, there's no linear measurement there because that's going to vary between whatever variety that you may have out there. It does well in crops where rows can be visually distinguished, and that's just in those 30-inch corn rows. Like I said, at a minimum of 4 inches, but I would venture to say that, you get 4 to 5 inches, you're probably going to be out there posting anyway. So that's when the camera comes in, the vision comes in the best. More so on the row sense, on the feelers. So like I talked about that universal sensor on those corn heads that we talked about for competitive machines, competitive corn heads that we've had in the past out there, approved for corn, soybeans, and cotton. I don't know how many cotton growers we have in here, but if you wanted to grow some cotton, you could run it in there as well, spraying it. 30 inches right now is all it's approved for on the feelers, and that's due to the actual length of the feelers themselves. Minimum crop height, 4 feet. Why 4 feet? Anybody have any ideas why 4 feet? What stage of the crop is it in? At that point in time, at 4 feet, we're going to have a hardy enough stalk that we can smack it with this rubber finger and not damage the stalk itself. So that's a key thing to think of there. Yeah, every variety is different, but around 4 feet, we all know how hardy that stalk is. So that's the key thing to think of there. And at 4 feet, you're probably still going to be able to utilize the camera as well because you're not going to be 90% canopy either there too. So you could have some variability between the two. No max crop height. Obviously, we're only smacking at about 6 inches, probably a little more than that up off the ground. So the big hitter, everybody's concerned on what do you need to run it? Well, our first recommendation is the Starfire 6000 receiver, the best one out there on the market right now. Let's couple that with putting on the kit. The kit itself for the controllers and the feelers, if you're going to go with the camera, is going to run you about $6,000 to get that product, and then it'll be a one-day install put on top of that, as well as if you go with the feelers are going to run you $3 or $3,000, and they will be installed within about a day as well. So you're looking $9,000 for the total package and about a day and a half, 2 days on the install of that. Now, a bonus for those of you that are running RowSense on your combines, you do not need to purchase an additional RowSense activation. If you have that RowSense activation, you can couple that to your combine. Now, if you run this on your sprayer, you can go the opposite way. You can get a corn head and put RowSense on your corn head and not have to buy an activation. That activation runs $3,000, and we want to make sure that you're getting the most money out of everything that you put into your machines, right? Best in, best out. Great program, great tools, great product. It's going to save on some row rage, right? Going to be less tired at the end of the day. Everybody that we put AutoTrack in, even on other machines, their best compliment is how well they feel at the end of the day. What questions do you have on AutoTrack Vision or RowSense? Yep. So if you put this on corn, there's 2 bolts and a plug. You can take them off. The feelers themselves for 15-inch beans, so you're not running down any more beans. I don't know where Roy ran off to. Roy, it takes what, 2 minutes? Yeah. And so the plug-in, there's a plug-in too, and there's an actual cap that goes on the end of the plug so you don't get dirt or debris or anything like that. Well, that concludes this part of it for us in our technology application. If you have any questions on this, feel free to grab Joe, Sam, or myself. We're happy to answer any questions that you may have.